Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
everybody. Welcome to Curiosity Cove. My name's Veda.
And I'm your trusty captain speaking. Today we'll be talking about
Movies.
I absolutely adore movies. I love movies.
Yeah. I feel like that's the base cap fact, you know?
I would say.
Like
if you don't know that, where have you been?
for, actually though.
How's your day going?
How's your day? Cuz mine was long. Did I tell you about my monumental task at work that I've been granted?
No. No, you did
So,
not.
our filing system, like our digital filing system, is a mess because it's like an amalgamation of like all these different like oh god, how would you even put it? Like user filing systems. So it's like everybody's filing systems got combined into one big one, right?
Ew. Yeah.
And everything is just everywhere. So like I have found payroll information in like 18 different folders. So my task is to restructure the entire network.
Oh.
Yep. Starting just me. Yeah. That's my monumental task. So a nice little work email went out to everybody today, which was like, we're going to do a restructuring of the network. It's going to be a slow process. We're starting with accounting. And then I was like, we. Just the word we is in there. And I feel like...
Yeah.
But,
that might just be all about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, I hope it goes well. Did it go well today?
Me too. Actually, yeah. It's honestly my like approach to it is I'm going to like list everything out. It sounds really convoluted and long, but it's like the most like thought out way that I can think to do it, where I'm going to list everything out on an Excel spreadsheet, right? And then I'm going to color code it to which file or like which folder it should be in, and then use that as reference to shift everything over.
Okay. That seems pretty
I feel like
smart.
that makes sense, right?
I just love color coding as
Me
well.
too. So,
okay.
Yeah. It just allows me to do, but I love organizing stuff. So like this is actually very like cathartic for me. So and my boss came in today at like so I get off at 4.
Yeah.
And the office closes at 5. And my boss was walking around the halls at like 3:00. And he like peers in, he's like, "You working on something?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Finish it up, let's get out of here early." And I said, "Oh hell yeah."
Let's fucking go.
That was a good moment for the day. So I like got off work early. I stopped at Culver's and it was good. I liked it. It was a good day.
I love that so much. That's so cool. My day was pretty chill. I had a very calm, decent day today. I thought it was gonna be a little bit busy, but it wasn't too bad. And then I ended up closing alone today, which is not too bad. Normally it's like if it's super busy, it sucks. But luckily it was a pretty chill Friday night, which I'm so thankful for. But got out a little bit early just because I finished up cleaning and everything. Grabbed myself some nuggies for dinner.
Yum.
And then got ready for podcast. I was gonna take a nap.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I slept like hell last night. Yeah, I didn't take one today. I played Supermarket Simulator literally from the second I got home until you were in this chat ready to go. Yeah, I had Klaus watching me and I was like he was laughing at me because I didn't know that you can explore the neighborhood. So like in between customers I was running laps around the block.
That's amazing.
But yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about movies today, I have a word of the day that's actually movie related.
Words with Voodoo.
Words with Voodoo. So, the word of the day is diegetic. Diegetic. And it's movie related.
Wait, can I guess?
Yes, of course.
Is it like have to do with horror films? I feel like diegetic means like when your heart gets pumping when you're watching something.
So it does have to do with like sensory, but it's not horror movie specific. Basically, it is when something is shown or heard within or being like created in the world of story. So it's like If a character is on screen playing a song and you hear the song they're playing, that's diegetic music.
Like if you hear like in the theater?
So if you know how movies have like scores or soundtracks?
Yeah.
So that's not diegetic. But if
Okay.
somebody is playing a song, like let's say somebody's playing a song and playing guitar on a
Yeah.
movie, then that's diegetic. So basically what it is it's when
Oh.
you are hearing something that technically the actual characters or the story is hearing. So like diegetic noise is like the sound of battle when there's a war on screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
Mm-hmm.
the metal of the swords clashing and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah,
Like
that's diegetic sound effects.
oh.
So it
I thought you just
basically
meant like the soundtrack, and I was like,
no,
no.
it's just called a score.
Yeah.
No, diegetic music is when like you hear a character playing a song, like on like it's not
Gotcha.
part of the soundtrack, but they're actually playing it in the movie or something.
That's
Um,
so cool.
yeah, so I didn't know that there was a word for anything like that, and I think that's
I
like a
didn't
really
either.
cool term because it can be like it's such a nice way to be able to explain like you know how a lot of people say like oh I like the ambiance of the film, well you can
Yeah.
specifically say like oh I like the diegetic noise in the film, like the stuff that's
Ooh.
happening in the film that I can hear as though I'm also there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I like that. I like
Me
that a lot.
too. Yeah, it was a fun one.
Yeah.
So all you movie buffs out there, there's your new word to incorporate into your movie reviews.
Yeah. I was talking with Veda earlier about this, but I don't have any cap words for today. At least not yet. If probably somewhere during us talking about this, I catch one.
I'm gonna
But
hear the
I was trying to
brie.
think of anything. I was thinking like through the movies I was listening to, through the music, or anything I was reading. I was trying to pick out something, but everything just made sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I said, well, shit. So,
I get
cap
you. I get
failed,
you.
Vadu did not.
No, 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 no.
No.
Okay. Well, as far as favorite schmovies, our
Yes.
topic for the day, would you like to give yours first? Do you want me to go
Yeah,
first?
of
Okay.
course. We're gonna do a back and forth kind of thing and just list off our favorite. Are we gonna go? Are we going from 1 to 10 or 10 to 1?
10 all the way up to 1, but before 1 we can do any honorable mentions.
Gotcha. Okay, that's a good one.
Perfect.
And then we'll list like why we chose that movie if we have any reasonings behind it. So I'm gonna
Excellent.
go jump on down. So my 10th was actually 2 because it's kind of same era of movies. So I have The Breakfast Club and 16 Candles. I think they're just such bomb ass like OG films. They just have such a good vibe to it, and I love that it's like old school, like high school friendships and like young love and like the rite of passage of
Mm-hmm.
everything. Especially Breakfast Club. But between the two, I'd say Breakfast Club is my favorite by far.
Yeah.
I just love it. I love the vibes with it. I could just sit there, and every time it's on, I have to sit there and watch to the end. It's just so
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. Understandable.
Yeah.
I love one of those is also on my list. So I love John Hughes films are like they hold a very special place in my heart.
Mm.
Like definitely partially like hometown hero. Like I feel
Mm.
like if you live in Illinois at any point in life, you're probably a John Hughes fan. Just the
Mm-hmm.
same way like what's that movie Blues Brothers, right?
I think so.
The I'm a soul man. I feel like you end up really liking that film just out of principle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when I lived in the city, I for college, I went to go see like a because I think it's like super. I don't actually know exactly where they are, but like the school from the Breakfast Club is like super north of the city, but you can get there from the
So
train.
cool.
So I went to go see
Yeah.
it one day.
Could
It
you
was
go
really
inside and
fun.
like
I
walk
don't
around or
think
no?
so. I didn't even attempt, but because
Mm.
I don't
Just
know.
seeing it was enough.
I'm not super in tune with like the state's trespassing laws, so I didn't even know if
Fair.
being on the
Fair.
school grounds was okay. But
Fuck. That's fair. That's a safe bet for sure.
yeah, yeah. But yeah. Um so that's tied Breakfast Club and 16 Candles.
Yeah, I really couldn't separate the two because I kind of see them like as like a together type thing, even though they have nothing to do with each other. I like I have them on par with each other.
Okay. That's fair.
Hmm.
That's fair. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
give you my 10 and 9 then. Um So my numero 10 is Breakfast at Tiffany's, which is an Audrey Hepburn film. And the reason is because my grandma on my dad's side, she introduced me to the movie, and honestly just to like Audrey Hepburn and James Dean and like all of those older actors that were so iconic. And she taught me about Audrey Hepburn and like her strength and how she was like so brave, and people started to take her seriously as an actress back in the day when, you know, maybe they would just be seen as like a pretty face. Yeah. And she actually told me this like Audrey Hepburn quote, and she unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And so my mom found this like little, you know, those little like, they almost look like acrylic paint on canvas, but they're just like printed.
Yeah.
So she found it and she sent it to me, but she had no idea that my grandma had told me that quote. So it was like this really crazy, like, it's from Breakfast at Tiffany's, but it's like, it's insane because she sent me all of this like Breakfast at Tiffany's stuff, and that quote was one of them, and I was like, I don't think you like understand what this quote means to me. And so it's just like, it was just really like, it was really great. And so that it holds a very, very special place in my heart for that reason. The movie itself, I don't think is like the greatest thing in the world. I do think it's iconic, but I don't think it would be in my favorites if not for like the emotional attachment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's still a good 10 though.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my numero 9 goes in a very different direction. It's Freddy versus Jason.
Oh my gosh.
And
okay.
like,
well,
okay,
banger film.
Yes, and it's kind of a meme pick in a way, but at the same time, I just don't think that there's any other like crossover between two film franchises that I've ever been more hyped for. And like, it, when you look back at it, so it's like, I mean, like, okay, Friday the 13th and Jason Voorhees, bomb. Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street, super bomb. Kids getting completely fucked up and on drinks and taking like a machete or 4 razor fingers to the face, fucking bomb. And it's like, it has all of that. So it's like, I mean, I just think it's so crazy because like, there's a setup with the movie Jason Goes to Hell where at the end of it, his mask gets dragged down into hell by Freddy Krueger's hand. And you get like all of this crazy insight on like Jason Voorhees' thoughts as like the post-death undead like slasher that he is, because Freddy goes into his brain in the movie, so you actually get to see what like Jason the slasher is thinking. And then you get,
I like that part a lot, actually.
Me too. And then you get like that boss battle showdown at the end between the two of them, and like and then like my last note says Jason for the people, because like him teaming up with like the kids just because Freddy's that shitty, like all of that is so awesome to me.
I wouldn't have thought that like those two killers being in the same movie would be that good of a movie. Yes, is there still cringe parts of it?
Oh, for sure.
Of course. But it's a really good movie.
It is.
Just sit down and watch, and I just, I love it.
I'm
also like a big fan of Freddy Krueger too.
Yeah, and so like it's very much like a classic, like kind of awful horror movie, like a guilty pleasure horror movie. And but like the good in it outweighs the bad, because what you expect going into it, just because like crossovers tend to be shitty as fuck, what you expect going into it is like half of what you get, and then the other half is like, oh holy shit, this is actually kind of sick. And like hearing Freddy like taunt Jason, but Jason is mute, so he doesn't say anything back, and it like pisses Freddy off. Like those interactions are hysterical, or like seeing them get pissed for taking each other's kills are like funny. Like I love that shit. Yeah, so I think that's my number 9, and it's low on the list because I do consider it kind of like a meme pick, but it is like, I do tell people like that's one of my favorites.
I'd say pretty much any on my list, like any 1 through 10, yes, is it kind of like labeled as 1 through 10, but honestly, you can catch me watching any of these at any point.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's no actual order in which I love these. But there is an order in which, like, the way that I see it is, like, if I was looking on a shelf, this is the order in which I would pick them if people said no to the first one or the second or whatever.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
What's your number 8?
My number 9 is
okay.
Rise, Dawn, and War of the Planet of the Apes. So it's not the old ones,
really?
it's all the new ones. Yes. So I'm a huge
Interesting.
science nerd. So the idea of like the humans creating this way to I think it was to reverse I forget what's the term. It's to reverse a certain disease that affects memory and whatnot. And so they've been testing it on the apes there, and it shows that they have like increased intelligence, and they like can have their cells be healing quicker and like fix damaged parts if there are damaged parts already. And so I thought it was really cool how it started from like Caesar being like a small chimp to like growing up and like being with the main character. And
Right.
I absolutely adore that like the apes know sign language. I love it so much. It's so cool. I love they incorporated that into it. And yes, they speak later, but the aspect of them having the sign language be like their own thing, and like all the humans slowly die off because of other diseases and the apes don't. They have like their own civilization, how they work together. There's kind of a hierarchy because yes, Caesar like leads it all, but he's very fair with
Right.
everything. Yeah, because like their number one rule is ape no kill ape. So it
Right.
literally they have to just have that one rule, and like they have to just work together and just make sure everything like goes well for them. And like there are later like quote unquote tribes that like come up, and like humans to like oppose them. But the number one reason why I love this series is because of Andy Serkis. He plays Caesar, and he also plays Smeagol, if you haven't heard that name before, from Lord of the Rings. He is just fantastic at that like motion capture acting. Like watching the behind the scenes for this film is absolutely amazing. All the additional what's it called, they have like arm prosthetics to have them do the walking simulation for when they're playing like the chimps, or they have gorillas in there as well, and there's like a different way you have to like move around. And they did a lot of background studies on like the animals that they were mimicking. They had actual like behaviorists come in and like help them like with their form, how they're walking, how their facial expression should be. They also had prosthetics for like fangs and stuff, how they should be talking, how they had actual interpreters come in and help them out with all like the signs and stuff. It was just absolutely amazing how much work they put into these movies, and it's just 10 out of 10, all three
Yeah.
films.
Wow. And it's crazy because usually, like, sequels and in trilogies and stuff, they don't typically all go well. Like, there's very few cases in which I like all the movies of a franchise.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Hell
I would
yeah.
say this one is one of them. I just think that the last one, the War of the Planet of the Apes, I think could have done a little bit better, only because I'm not going to do any spoilers for it, just because I don't really want to at the moment in case anyone hasn't seen it. But the way it like ends is like darn, but like you have to get over it because like it's a fair ending.
Right.
Yeah, but it's like, well, fuck. I really wanted it
Yeah.
to go this way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like when that happens, though.
I do too.
I
Cause like,
love when
yeah, I'm upset as a viewer, but like as a movie lover, you're like, damn, they did a good
yeah,
job.
like, oh fuck, that makes so much sense, and
Mm-hmm.
but I hate it. Like,
Yeah, but I hate it. I'm
that's
mad.
like anytime a protagonist dies, that's how I feel. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
fucking hate it, but this makes the movie so good.
Yeah,
Or
like
like
this adds plot.
or
Damn
like
it.
it's been forever, so I'm not worried about you guys getting spoilers on this one. If you haven't seen it by now, that's your
Mm.
bad. Rogue One. I mean,
Uh-huh.
like, the spoiler is in itself because the whole point of the movie is that a bunch of good people die for a small piece of information.
Yeah.
But that movie, like, if anybody had survived in the end, it would not be my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Like,
You'd be like, well, why did they? No, just
literally, yeah,
full circled it.
the fact that it's a full sacrifice and that's the whole premise of the film is what makes it my favorite Star Wars movie. And so, like,
Ooh.
and it comes from one line where I can't remember who says it, but where somebody says a lot of good spies died for this information. Like, to make an entire movie based off of one, like, line of a script is crazy to me.
Yeah.
So I love when
really
shit like that happens.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was your
eighth?
number 9. Yeah, my 8th is The Crow. Have you seen this?
I've not.
Okay.
I don't even think I've heard of it.
Okay, so the premise of it is there is this little girl, right? And she was friends with this couple. And the wife was killed in front of the husband. And he basically it's a tragic story of both of them essentially passing. And it's a very like poetic cult classic kind of like dark film. And it stars Brandon Lee. And he plays Eric Draven, and this is the husband or whatever. And this is also Brandon Lee is Bruce Lee's son. And he essentially like comes back once a year on the eve of Halloween to exact revenge on the people that like I think he comes back once. Because there's sequels, but I've never seen them because I know they're terrible. So I think technically he comes back once a year, but in the original movie, it was just supposed to be he's brought back once. And the whole premise of it is like they say that, you know, crows are messengers that carry souls back and forth.
Yeah, the messengers of death.
Yeah, so this crow's like brought him back for a night to essentially like fix the issue that was going on in this city. But there's a lot of reasons that I like this one. When I was a kid, for like 2 years, this played every single night on my TV. I just put the DVD in and I let it roll every single night as a kid.
Oh my god.
I was like, yeah, I would just fall asleep to it. I mean, like, it had amazing music. The Cure did a song for it, and The Cure is one of my like all-time favorite bands.
No way.
So yeah, it's a really good song too. I'll have to show you.
Yeah,
I mean, I have to show you the movie because it's actually really good.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But my other thing is that there's a quote, and it's like, I mean, you tell me if you want to hear it because it's the last quote of the movie, but it's such a strong, iconic quote.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Lay it on me.
So she says, if the people we love are stolen from us, the way to have them live on is to never stop loving them. Buildings burn, people die, but real love is forever.
Aww.
And it is like the whole movie is basically about like holding on to the people that are close to you. It's just that message is delivered in a really dark storyline. And so I really fuck with it.
Yeah.
It's a really, really great film.
I can't wait to hear it in the film.
Yeah, I also can't wait to like show you because it's like it's such a cult classic and it's got like, you know, really like shoegazy, like grungy-esque music. It's got like incredibly dark, witty writing. It's got all this crazy like factoids behind it. And it's got like that, you know, aesthetic blue filter from like the early 2000s. Yeah. So it's just like me too.
It adds that like level of this is from the 2000s.
Yes, absolutely. But one of the craziest facts from this film, since you've never heard of it, Brandon Lee actually died on set because there was a prop gun that ended up killing him. And because it was supposed to be,
I've heard of that. I just didn't know it was from that film.
Yes,
really?
It's from The Crow. So it was supposed to be a blank, but it wasn't, and so it ended up actually killing him.
Wait, that's insane.
Yeah, so it's his legacy film as well, and it's so good. Like, I think it's an insult that they continued it. Like, I do.
Yeah, I would.
But that first movie is one of the greatest films I've ever seen, and it's so I don't watch it that much anymore, probably because I burned out on it the 2 years straight that I watched it, but
probably
it's still a very good film. I will show that to you anytime that you want.
Oh, bet. I'm excited.
Okay, now you give me your 8.
My number 8 is Transformers, but only 1 through 3. Because anything that has Mark Wahlberg in it can be bundled up and thrown in the trash.
Which is so upsetting because I love Mark Wahlberg, but like not in those films.
I do too. I hate those films.
Did you like Bumblebee though?
No.
Okay.
No, I did not.
That's
I
fair.
watched it a couple times. I thought the acting was trash. I didn't think it was a good prequel to anything. And quite frankly, I like Haley Steinfeld only in a certain number of films. It is not that one for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
understandable. So the first three is Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, and then
Dark of the Moon.
Dark of the Moon. Okay. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if it was that or Age of Extinction.
No, Age of Extinction is Mark Wahlberg's. That's when the
The first
dinosaurs
one.
come in. I think that's the fourth one,
Yes.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love the original series so much just because there's so much iconic scenes in it that I don't think people recognize that they recognize so much from the film. For my number one film of those three is Revenge of the Fallen. I think it's the one I've seen the most.
Me too.
And it's just I love the whole college scene. I love it
Yeah.
so much. And that like all the there's that like I wouldn't say it's the like blue overtone of everything. It's more like hella saturated in these films. But I love it so much. I think I love Shia LaBeouf in it so much. He's so fucking funny. The
Yeah, he's
screams in all of them.
hysterical.
And the other reason why I love these films so much is like me and my friend group from like when I was little, like elementary school, we loved Transformers. We had all the toys, we had all the cards, we saw all of them in theaters together. So like we grew up on the film, so I just love them so much. But it just made me so sad that like the third movie hits different because there's a lot of big scenes that happen in it. For example, my favorite Autobot Ironhide dies in it, and it makes me so fucking sad.
Yeah.
But I thought that movie was a good like final one that I honestly didn't think they were going to run it back with another one. And when Age of Extinction came out, I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah. I stopped watching
like,
after that one.
Whole ass aliens coming in.
But also, was it Revenge of the Fallen that had that Linkin Park song, What I've Done?
Yeah.
That song was such a banger, dude.
It is. And it's in like one of the biggest fight scenes, or just at the end too.
It's just such a great song, and it elevated that scene so well. So yeah, the second one is my favorite as well. I mean, like I think Sam Witwicky is a really clever character. I think that they wrote that part for Shia LaBeouf, and if they didn't, then somehow they still did. But yeah, I feel like he did so well, and it's like it's a shame that he couldn't continue, but at the same time, like if I were him, I wouldn't have wanted to go past 3 films either.
I wouldn't have either. And also I like that they bring him up sometimes in the newer films because his name is mentioned. But what kind of makes me also sad is I wish Michaela made it to the third film. I think Megan Fox in that third film would have been fire. But unfortunately, there's some dumb shit and drama that happened, and unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it into the third film.
Yeah, I'm one of those people with the hot take of like I think Megan Fox is an incredible actress.
I think she is too.
And her not wanting to work on things where she's over sexualized being an issue, that's like it's ridiculous to me. I can't believe that people have an issue with that. So I understand why she wasn't in the third one. Like because of that, like
sucks.
That difficulty. It sucks because like Michaela was a great character. And
especially for like a quote unquote first love kind of thing. Because like what also made it so real is like their love was awkward as hell.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't even like him. She thought he was just some dude who was just, like, hitting on her because she was hot. Yeah. And then she was like, oh, well, I mean, this kind of works, actually.
Well, and it was very much, like, it was such a subtle way of doing, like, the nerdy guy gets the girl. Yeah. Because, like, it was so realistic. Like, of course it's fucking awkward. Like, you have to deal with the insecurity that this girl is, like, stunning. And like also you guys have been through some like pretty traumatic things together, so like of
multiple
course
times,
yes, so of course your relationship is like a tad bit awkward. And so I think that just helped with the like in a movie that is based off of something that is so unrealistic, it helped bring it back to like a little bit of like a realistic aspect of it. So yeah, I agree. I think that her character making it to the third film would have made all the difference. Sure. I don't think they could have saved anything past 3 ever. No choices never could have saved it. Just shouldn't have been made.
That's why I just end my love for the Transformers on the third one. That's
Yep.
it.
Absolutely fair.
That's fair.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
7 for me is one that has already appeared on one of our lists. It is The Breakfast Club.
Yay.
I swear to God, I used to think that this was like the greatest film ever created. I was like, not that I was ever like a snooty film kid or anything, but like if you got me into a conversation about this movie, you would think that I was, because I knew like every fact about it. I had everything to say about like every scene, and it's just everything from like the development of all the characters to like the way that they broke down walls to the dialogue and the soundtrack, and I just think it's a great film.
I agree.
One of my like all-time favorite developments is in this movie, because I think that the change that you see in the characters is well placed, and it's not unrealistic for a bunch of kids who are stuck in a room together with nothing to do all day on a Saturday. Like I feel like the pace and the amount of opening up they do with one another, it makes sense for the scenario that they're in. And I just like, I don't think like it's literally perfect. It's not too fast, it's not too slow.
I have no complaints about the film at all.
Literally, I can't think of a
over
single
and over
thing
and over.
that I dislike. And there's like all these things from like breaking down stereotypes that were, and like when you think about it, you have to think about the fact that this was in the 80s. So like today we don't have these stereotypes that they had back then. And so when you put yourself in the perspective of someone growing up in the 80s, where there are these cliquey like plastic popular girls, they're like these bad boy bully, like, you know, you're not going to amount to anything guys. Yeah, there's quiet burnouts, or, you know, whatever you want to call them. There's like the super like pressured jock guys. But like when you look at it, it's kind of like there's a character in there for everyone. And so if you don't relate to a bunch of them, there's at least one like on some level you can relate to. And I think that it's just a really like, it's a display of a lot of honest conversations between two or more of the characters, because, you know, either they snap or they sympathize or something happens, and it's just like it conveys so much human emotion that you would actually see in a scenario like that. I think I cannot complain about any aspect of it.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. So that's my number 7.
My number 7 is the Avatar films. Avatar from 2009
Really?
and Avatar Way of Water.
Oh god, this is where we differ so much.
Well, I see the points as to where these films wouldn't be as enjoyable to some people, because to be honest, the original storyline from the first Avatar was fire. I loved the like plot of it. I thought it was like really well made, and for being in 2009, like the motion capture and the animation of it all was amazing. Absolutely stunning. It like created that well-rounded world, the story of like Jake coming in and then meeting the Tiri, and like the whole world, the language, the like trying to save their people and stuff like that was so neat. I can see where The Way of Water doesn't meet up to the standards, and I don't think it really can. But James Cameron explained that the film, yes, does have a plot and a story to it, but he wanted them to be a world to enjoy. They weren't supposed to be watched to like watch a movie. They're watched to like be submersed into this realm that he made, this world where you can like enjoy the fantasy of like being an avatar and like hanging out in this world and new languages, these new sea creatures he explains. And I just think like if you put yourself in it, like how gorgeous the film is in itself.
Okay. I mean, I can see that. So my thing about,
is it about both of them or just Way of Water?
It's more about Way of Water.
Okay.
But it is generally about both of them.
Okay.
Because I hate the fact that, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, so I'm just going to give the hot take warning anyways.
Go for it.
I hate the fact that a white man comes in to save a bunch of native tribal people like they couldn't do it themselves. I hate that.
No. Yeah,
I
that's fair.
hate every aspect of that. So it
I don't
ruins...
like that he had to have that connection with Awa to call upon, like, the people.
Correct. I don't like that he came in, I don't truly understand, because I didn't watch it more than once, the first one, and the second one, like, I kind of get it, but I also don't. So he basically was, this is an avatar for him, the human, and he chose to stay as the avatar, right?
So the thing is like, the avatar was for his brother, but his brother was a twin. So that's the reason why the DNA could still work to make that connection. But in order to pass through Awa to get to your avatar body, you had to have, like, that beyond life connection and, like, to choose to leave that life behind, but it had to be, like, a mixture of both of those two to connect. So, yeah, in a way, he kind of just, like, chose to move over.
Right. And so, and my thing is that I think if it wasn't such a fuck you to the original tribe to me, like, it's like, there had to have been someone who could have led them in the fight. Why did it have to be a white human man? Like, why? That's, like, my one complaint about it, and it absolutely ruins the first one for me. Do I think it's a beautiful film? Yes. Do I think the characters are, like, well acted and they look good? Yes. Do I think that the plot line is perfect? No. But do I think it's decent enough? Yes. The only issue that I have, like, to the point where it's like, I will never watch this again, is with Way of the Water, because I feel like I watched the same film a second time, but this time it was a different blue people. Like, it was just, I think it was just because, like, I wanted some sort of originality, but it was, all it was, again, was him gaining the trust of a different tribe and then fighting their fight for them.
But it wasn't fighting their fight for them. Literally, what caused the problem was Jake went over to the VedaCain clan and got them almost killed.
Right.
Because the humans who were in the new avatar bodies were going after him. Like, the whole VedaCainas were fine. Our new tribe, they could have been fine. But because Jake went over there and asked for, like, sanctuary, essentially, and they granted it, they were on, like, a hunting spree. They were killing all of, like, their sister, like, whales and stuff, and just murdering everything.
I'm gonna tell you right now, the only thing that kept me going in that fucking movie was that one whale, that one Tolkien.
True.
Payakan? Yeah, Payakan. Payakan was the only reason I would watch that movie again. It's just, I love that fucking thing so much.
No, Payakan's fucking cool. I love the little elus too.
And,
the
like,
little, like, plesiosaur looking
I
things.
will say, I feel like if the movie had done a better job of making somebody else the hero, because, like, I don't know.
Of Jake?
Yeah, it felt like they set it up to have Jake's kids be, like, the heroes.
Yeah.
And then they just swung it back to him. They're like, just kidding, he's say. And so those are like the only two things on why I'm not a huge Avatar person. I understand the hype. I do. They're fucking gorgeous films. And like I think that specifically the first one was such a revolutionary film. How can you not respect it? I don't fuck with the main character.
Yeah.
And I mean, like,
that's fair.
I have a tendency to hate protagonists, like, especially male protagonists. But for him, it's not even that I hate him. I just hate that he had to be the one to save everything.
Yeah. But in all honesty, if you wanted to play, like, the other side of things, I don't know if the Omaticaya people would have been able to. Like,
you don't
without
think one of them would have formulated a plan?
That's, if anything, it would have been the Sahik, Natiri's mom.
Yeah.
Because she has the direct connection with Awa. Like, they would have figured out something. That's the only way that I think it would have happened. But I still think Home Tree would have been blown up.
Yeah. I mean,
100%.
The help,
like, they would have to go through that big tragedy first.
You know what I would accept in exchange for, if, like, what would have made this is that if he had given them information, but somebody else had been the hero. If somebody else had the spark, if he was like, here's the information I can give you from, like, what I know of these people who are after you, and somebody else from their tribe formulated the plan, you've won me over.
I wish Grace would have said something.
Yeah. Yeah.
If Grace would have went behind his back and told the chief or Sute, oh, 100%.
Yeah.
They would have went to war right then and there.
Because then everything else can happen. I don't give a shit if he stays, if he falls in love, if he starts a family, if he becomes one of the tribe. Great. Happy ending. Great. But just that initial, like, of course he is the hero of this film. It got me, man. That was the point. I remember watching the first time. I was like, okay.
That's fair. I see your reasoning for sure.
Yeah.
All right, what's your number 6, my lady?
Number 6 for me is, I can't remember if I forced you to watch this or not, but Stuck in Love.
Maybe if you talk about it, I might remember.
Okay. Premise of the movie is there's a family. The dad is a famous author, and he's got... Okay. So...
We bonded over this.
Yes. So, for those of you out there who may not have seen it, it's a movie about basically a family of like nerds, if we're being
pretty
honest.
Much, yeah.
So there's 4 of them. The parents are divorced, and the 2 kids, there's an older sister and a younger brother, and they're played by Lily Collins and Nat Wolff respectively. Yes. And the dad is Greg Kinnear, and the 3 of them, honestly, I could give a shit about Jennifer Connelly. I think she does fine in the movie, but I don't like her character, so...
She moves the plot along.
Yeah, exactly. But I just think the 3 of them really, like, were perfectly casted. And it's, like, the only chick flick, quote-unquote, that I will watch anytime, any place, with anybody, and I will recommend it and push it on to people, because I think it's a great film.
It is. It's a stunning film.
Yeah.
I love it a lot. It's really comfy too. Like
there's,
a comfy film.
Yes, it is. And there's 3 things that I love about it, which is the first one, my biggest thing about it is how raw it is. Because it shows like all the avenues of love. The dad is a hopeless romantic. The son inherits that, but he's also a fixer. So he wants to fix people. And the daughter wants nothing to do with love. Yeah, and it's like
it's not true, it's not real. I don't
correct. So you have like these 2 extremes, the middle ground, and you get to see all of these paths of love, like get fulfilled or you know, get fucked up or whatever might happen throughout the film. I love how poetic it is. Like some of the lines that are in that, like the quote he says where like I could hear everyone's collective conscience or whatever, or like the noise we sat there making, like that quote gives me chills every time. I love that the movie opens and closes within a year's span, and it has like a similar scene. So it's got like the Home by the Alabama Shakes, like it's bookending the movies. So it's got like, you know, that beginning scene where everyone's kind of like in their own little mess, and then it comes to like completion with kind of the same scene, but everything has changed. I love that. Like, I just think that a lot of really good artistic choices were made. And I think it's a great film.
It is. It's a very pretty film, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so cozy. I just can't stop calling it that, because I just loved watching it. I just connected with so many different aspects of different characters, too.
And it's like, everything that happens in it is like, it's just so emotional, but at the same time, it's like so relatable and honest. It's just it was just really well written, well directed.
I agree for sure. So my number 6 is the Terminator series, but
Fair.
I have beef with a couple of the films.
I think everyone does.
Oh, for sure. I respect that too. But the reason why I love this series so much, especially the original, I don't think I want to include the 3rd one. Sam Worthington. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But the reason why I love the Terminator films is because me and my dad watched them all the time. Especially when I was little. Like, we would sit on the couch and I would just sit there and we'd have a bowl of popcorn and I would pester him with all the questions because, quite frankly, the film's kind of fucked up. The plot line, the storyline, the timeline itself is whack. It goes back in time with a whole bunch of different things. John Connor, Kyle Reese, you're meeting Sarah Connor, you're meeting Sarah Connor's meeting Kyle Reese, but like their kid is the one in the past. Like, it's really weird.
Right.
But I just love the like old timiness of the films, especially if you're watching the first Terminator. Like, that shit's placed, I think, in the 80s. Yeah. And it's just so good. I love it. I love the acting. I love Sarah Connor. She's fucking sick. And I
Mm-hmm.
just love that I just get brought back into the headspace of like, I love watching this because I get to watch it with my dad. Like something me and my
Mm-hmm.
dad bond over all the time. And the reason why I have beef with some of the movies is number 3, the one with Sam Worthington. Um, I don't have any beef with him. I just think that movie was stupid. I don't think they should have incorporated it at all. It didn't
Okay,
move
fair.
anything along. And it doesn't have any of the original cast. I think they showed Kyle Reese like once because
Mm-hmm.
that's who they were after, but yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah, I
And
feel
then
you on
Dark
that.
Fate is garbage. I
Right.
actually think the main new Terminator was hot, so you could leave that. But besides that, I don't like the plot of that one. It's just a big recap of everything else. It's just a different chick and a different Terminator.
Right.
But I will say Terminator Genesis was a good one. I love the plot twist in that one a lot, even though it's
Yeah.
still new characters
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
story.
And
Yeah.
I feel like for what they could have done, I think that they did a decent job of
Hmm.
like continuing the story.
Yeah, and I like that it's like a different like uh timeline because it's not the original Kyle Reese and John Connor because like
Mm-hmm.
Genesis was a different spin-off because it's not called Skynet, and then
Right.
Dark Fate has a different one as well. I forget what she calls it, but that is a different timeline. So every single time they clear Skynet, it happens again, but of a different business name.
Right.
And then they have to redo that again, and then another timeline opens up again. So it just seems like we're just doomed to be taken over by machines.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Same shit, different timeline, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. That's all the movies,
No,
except for
complete
the
yeah.
first 3. Well, I don't even understand what 3's about. I haven't watched it in so long because I just refuse.
I haven't either, so I couldn't give you any insight.
Good. Chad, don't watch it. Don't watch it at all.
Yeah,
Moving on.
just skip it.
Anyway,
Yes, number
number
5.
5.
So my number 5 is one that I know that we share in terms of like favorite movies or like movies that we enjoy. It's Treasure
Oh.
Planet.
Ooh.
Um
True.
I will always stand my ground on this being like one of the most underrated movies of all time.
1000%.
Right there along with Atlantis, but I like
Preach.
Treasure Planet way more.
For
um
sure.
but yeah, I think it has incredible writing and like it's this like the epitome of like dreamy childhood adventure and like I
Mhm.
don't know, I just feel really really great after I watch it. Like I
Mhm.
can literally quote most if not all the movie.
Yeah,
And
me too.
like the the song from can't remember his
Iris
name, but the
and the Goo
guy
Goo Dolls.
from the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah.
That song is like it holds a special place in my heart. Like I get pumped every time I hear it. I
Mhm.
cry at the end of it every time, and
It's
like,
one of those songs that just fits that part so
uh
well, like the
huh,
Linkin Park song in
yes,
Transformers. It
yeah.
just fits so well. I just get chills.
I think it made the movie better. Like I think if
Oh,
you take
100%.
out that song, it would actually change the quality of the film for me,
Mhm.
but not by
Mhm.
much because I still think it's just a perfect childhood movie. Like
Mhm.
if I ever have children, they will be raised off this movie.
For
It's
sure.
just I think it's like it's a great lesson too of like mm, I mean like it's a weird lesson to teach to your kids, I guess, but like it's a great lesson of like you don't need both parents in your life. If you
Yeah.
don't have one or if you don't feel like you have one, that's
Mhm.
fine because there are people who are there to guide you every way that you turn.
Mhm.
And it like it's okay to not have a big presence in your life like that because you can find it. You can learn in other ways.
Yeah, and it
And
also
like
shows that like someone else can come into your life and be that person for you.
exactly. And so
You
like
don't even have to know them. Like they could just make
strangely
that impact.
strangely enough, I feel as though if somebody were to watch this movie like having like a step parent, they
Yeah.
might kind of like get a lot of like emotions from it
Yeah.
because of
Because
like
of
that kind of
Silver.
like yeah, cuz that kind of
Mhm.
like role being filled kind of theme.
Yeah.
But I just think the story is great. I think it also shows like even people with the with the worst intentions can change. Like,
Yeah.
you're not stuck in your path forever, and there's always room for growth. And so I just think it's like a really great lesson weaved into an incredible childhood film.
I agree. 10 out of 10.
I love it. It's like literally such a good movie. All right, number 5.
My number 5 is a buttload of Scooby-Doo films. So
fair.
I have Scooby-Doo 2002, Scooby-Doo Unleashed 2004. I have Zombie Island, Cyber Chase, Alien Invaders, and Witch's Ghost.
3 of those are my 3 favorite Scooby-Doo films, so valid.
I just couldn't pass them up. Like,
yes.
I literally, the live actions, fire. 10 out of 10. How could you not even?
Right.
Zombie Island is one of my all-time faves
for sure.
because of the song at the end when they're running from the werecats. Fire. I literally mute my mic every time and scream it out. I love it so much.
Yes.
Cyber Chase? Are you kidding me? That's like one of the OG Easter egg movies. It has everything from all the series, all the new ones, old ones. You get little snippets, and there's a bunch of little Easter eggs throughout the entire Scooby-Doo game as well. Alien Invaders is, I think, the first Scooby-Doo film that I've ever seen, and also I can't help but sing the groovy song.
Yeah.
Shaggy and Scooby fall in love with the hippies. And then Witch's Ghost, I don't think I need to explain that.
Banger. Hex Girls.
Yeah, Hex Girls have my heart.
Hex Girls 100%. For sure. So my favorite Scooby-Doo movie is Witch's Ghost. I think it's a popular like number 1 among people who like Scooby-Doo. But Cyber Chase was the one I watched the most. I loved Cyber Chase. Me and my brother used to watch it on fucking VHS.
Me too. Oh my gosh. I just think any Scooby-Doo, even the live action ones, even though they're quote unquote newer, I think they give that level of nostalgia that just hits. Like, what if you're just having a really crummy day, but like you just want something that could make your day just that little bit better? You sit back with a bowl of popcorn and you just sit there and you reminisce while you watch these. Or you just know certain lines or songs are coming up just because in your subconscious, your little kid brain is like screaming inside. And I love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, completely understandable.
I just love it. That's my top 5. Like 5, I know I listed a bunch, but
it's okay. It's all under like a theme.
Yeah. It's all of them.
Excellent. Okay, well, moving into like our upper ranks then. My number 4 is another cult classic, and it was also my first ever favorite movie. It's Donnie Darko.
You know what? I have a comment on this at the end.
Oh,
if I'm assuming it's the right film, but go ahead and go for it. Maybe you'll change my mind.
So this was my first favorite movie. I watched it when I was like maybe 13 years old. And my dad showed it to me because he thought that it was one of the greatest films ever created. I also think it's one of the greatest films ever created, and here's why.
Okay.
There's this time loop concept, right? It's all the whole movie is about a fixed point in time. Can you change it, and will it change the outcome that you want it to change?
Yeah.
And it's this very like butterfly effect, and it set this standard of like sometimes to win you have to lose in my mind. Like I like it was like this and Butterfly Effect from the early 2000s. They did the same thing to me.
Love that film.
Me too. They did the same thing to me mentally, which was made me question if winning is always the good thing to do. Yeah. But I think this movie is like aesthetically pleasing. I love Frank the Rabbit. I like adore Jake Gyllenhaal in it. I also adore Maggie. Like I just think that it was casted super well. I think that the plot of it is paced in a way to where you're like, I don't get what's going on, and then it hits you like a freight train because it's hitting Donnie like a freight train. So I think that they did that well. I think that there's this overall like eerie feeling that makes it kind of like suspenseful throughout the movie, even though it's not typically like a suspense kind of plot. And I think it's a cult classic for a reason. I just think like it's a little artsy, yes, but like it also it shows so many things when you unwrap the layers.
Yeah.
And also the soundtrack's fucking bomb.
Yeah, I will agree. It does have some pretty good music.
Yeah. Okay, what's your comment?
So I ended up watching the film because I keep hearing about it. And so I was like, this has to be a classic of some reason. So I'm going to watch it. So I sat back, got myself my popcorn, and I watched it. And like you said, I had no idea what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Because like I thought there was something to do with the time loop or something. And I was waiting for it to all fall into place. Because a lot of time-oriented films kind of work like that.
Right.
So I was just waiting for it. I was interested probably for the first 45 minutes or so, and then I got too lost.
Yeah.
I think I'd need to watch it with I watched it alone too, by the way. So I think I need to watch it with someone to talk it out, or that has seen it before to point out shit that I might have missed.
Well,
because
so we can totally watch
it was pretty, but like
yeah,
I didn't get it.
We can absolutely watch it, because like because it was my first favorite movie, I like went balls deep into like what everything meant. So front to back I can explain everything to you. But also like the concept of it is very simple. He wasn't supposed to make it, you know?
Yeah.
And so everything in his life was telling him, you need to go back, you need to go back, you need to go back. Because otherwise all of this terrible shit's gonna happen. And it's set into place for him at that party when that shit went down, you know? I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but so he did what he was supposed to. And so like it was a fluke. The central timeline was offset and he had to correct it. That's the basis of it. Yeah, but
now I want to rewatch it.
Yeah, it goes more in depth, and we can rewatch it sometime, and I can like point out to you like all of the subtle hints as to what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's my number 4. What's yours?
My number 4 is Atlantis.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
This one's valid. It's so valid.
So I was a little torn to where to put this, because I wanted it close to Treasure Planet because it's a close second for Disney films for me. But I ended up placing it here just because, number one, I could quote the majority of this film as well.
Yeah.
Pretty much Atlantis, Treasure Planet, and my number 1, I could quote front to back to a degree. I think that it did a stellar job of explaining a possibility of what Atlantis fell into, like how it was ended up down there. I love the different languages in it because they jump between a bunch of different dialects to get to what Atlantean is supposed to be. I think the characters are all amazing. I don't think there's really like a plot twist that you didn't see coming, but I do think the characters' feelings and emotions changing at that moment is really cool to see, and I just think it's just a really pretty film as well. I love old school Disney films. I think they're amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I think old school Disney just has that aesthetic.
Yeah,
like that.
It does.
It's just beautiful.
I also love, it's not like the older films to where they have like the quote unquote watercolor backgrounds, but like Oliver and Company or what's it called? The Aristocats or Lady and the Tramp, like that watercolor-esque background, those are my favorite to watch as well. Just because I just don't even pay attention to what's going on with the characters. I'm looking at the scenery and it's so fucked. Like I miss stuff because I'm looking at it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like I don't know if it would be weird to say that like it was almost like a good balance in old Disney animation between like muted colors and vibrant colors.
Yeah.
And I think that we miss that today.
Well, I feel like today also what pisses me off is like all the characters look the same.
Yeah. They have like a very
I
formula.
love the drastic differences. Especially in Treasure Planet. Are you kidding me?
Well, and like every like
creatures are so sick.
Features today on Disney characters are so soft versus back then there used to be like hard features on certain characters, and so I feel like that kind of like you lose kind of the individuality of characters through that. And so yeah, I would say Disney's movies from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, are infinitely better than Disney movies today, but Disney movies today can still be really good.
Yeah, I'm not saying like I'm shitting on all the new ones because like Encanto and Coco and
Oh my god, yeah.
There's that new one, Wish. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either.
I heard it's dog shit.
Oh no.
So I kind of want to watch it just to laugh at it.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is Disney's live action is dropping the ball, something fierce, and they need to pick it up.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on my knees, please.
Yeah. Agreed.
But moving on, what's your top 3?
Okay. So, number 3. I just knocked a whole bunch of shit off my desk trying to be dramatic. Number 3 is Casablanca.
Ooh.
Which, have you seen this?
I've seen bits and pieces, but only recently. It was on TV the other day, and I watched like random portions because I was doing something during it. But I was kind of intrigued with the story, so I kind of want to rewatch it.
So we're gonna have so many movie nights.
We need to freaking write these down.
Literally. We'll just use our notes.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, so Casablanca is like, so it's an old, I think it was the 50s, or late 40s. I can't actually remember. But it is a love story. It's 1942, actually. Damn. And it has, Ingrid Bergman, who I know used to be a pretty famous female actress, and then Humphrey Bogart, who was like a super famous 40s, 50s actor. But it is actually a romance and war film. And
what? Really?
Yes. Yeah. And it leans way more on the romance. But basically the premise of it is there is a Casablanca, which is a place in Africa, is like this safe haven for people trying to get across seas and like to and from and like hide out during the war. And so essentially Rick Blaine owns this gin joint in Casablanca, and the story is about Ilsa.
I think it's Ilsa.
Yeah, it's Ilsa. It's about Ilsa coming into this gin joint and turning his world upside down because it is like a flame from the past that never got closure. And so it's very much like a scorned love film in a way, but the war aspect of it comes from Ilsa comes in with her fiance, who is essentially trying to seek passage. His name is Victor Laszlo. And it's just like, I think that the movie itself can be boring to people if it's not like, if you're not interested in like, I guess the old kind of, because people say that these movies are boring just because of like how Hollywood was back then.
Yeah.
But I love black and white movies, and I think that like the jokes in them are so witty, and I think that they hold up, but I understand that other people might not. And it's one of those movies where it doesn't have, the stereotypical happy ending. And I don't think that was super popular back then. It might have been, because I wasn't alive. I don't know. But I can imagine that the ending that it does have was one that was very popular. But yeah, like there's like one of my favorite jokes from it is that there's like there's a character named Louis, and he's like a cop in Casablanca, right? Like he's like like a marshal, and Rick has gambling in his bar or whatever, and at some point he has to shut it down, so Louis is running around and he's like this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. I can't believe there's gambling in this establishment. This is ridiculous. Shut it down now. And then somebody just like leans in and goes, "Sir, you're winning." So he goes, "Thank you." And it's like, to me, like that's such a witty thing to me, like especially for the time period. So like I still laugh at that, but some people are like, okay,
what do you mean?
Yeah. So I think it's a great movie, and it's one of my favorites, and it's got like an emotional attachment to it too, because like me and my uncle on my mom's side, we used to watch a lot of like black and white movies together, and like Western films too. And so like I always think back to to my childhood and like watching those movies with him when I watch it too. So it's like a
Aw.
dual meaning, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
like
just think
that a
it's a
lot.
solid film.
Yeah, for sure, for
Hmm.
sure.
All right, tell me your number 3, lady.
My number 3 is actually a horror film,
Hell
horror
yeah.
series. So I have The Shining and Doctor Sleep in there.
Oh hell yeah.
So I know that I hadn't seen The Shining until we watched it in the Cove last year. But I think it's funny that I've seen Doctor Sleep so many more times before that. But here's my justification for it. So I saw Doctor Sleep and I knew the references from The Shining because I saw Ready Player One.
Oh, okay.
So like I got the gist, and it's not like I haven't heard like what The Shining was about.
Right.
But when I watched it with y'all, oh my god,
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I
it's a
love I
classic.
love the creepy. I don't much care for like the sudden music stuff because I don't really like that horror
Yeah.
films use that as like the quote unquote jump scare esque
Mm-hmm.
things. But to me, The Shining didn't overdo it.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I loved the setting and like the
Mm-hmm.
maze and the hotel. I love the characters. I love the idea of like what The Shining is and like the
Mm-hmm.
little Danny, and then how Doctor Sleep took part of that and like reincorporated it and did flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And they go back to the hotel. Oh my god, I just love
Mm-hmm.
it so much. I love just sitting there watching it and just the acting's so well done. Ewan McGregor does such a fantastic
Mm-hmm.
job. I just can't get enough of it. And the main character, I forget the actress's name for the Hat, who is the main
Oh
character
yeah.
of the chick in the quote unquote not of all the bad people. But she does fantastic. The acting and the like, I don't even know, the like quote unquote magic of it all,
Mm-hmm.
because like The Shining is their magic in a way,
Right.
is so cool. The character building, the plot, the story, the settings, the visuals. I just could go on about it forever. I could watch it back to back. I think I did for one point. I just watched Doctor Sleep over and over for like a week straight. I
Yeah.
loved it that much for not
Yeah.
even seeing The Shining at all.
Dude, I get it. I saw when Avengers Infinity War came out, I saw it like 11 times in theaters.
That's because it's one of the last good Marvel
Yes,
films.
true. But like
Don't fight us on that. By the
but but yeah, I definitely I know what you mean about like having like a love for a movie like that that's just like so instant and so like
It is.
in a way like addicting because you just like don't want to
Yeah.
stop watching it. Um
hmm
so yeah,
I
and I
like
think
finding new things too.
yeah,
Like new
and I think
things
this is
films.
valid because I think like the two films separately are both great, and then when you think about the connections between the two of them and the
hmm
time gap between all of it, like
Yes.
it's so good. And it's like somehow they're still so like relative despite the fact that there's such an like a gap in time
Yeah.
between the two of them being released. Like
hmm
it doesn't if you had told me The Shining was like a 2000s film, I would still believe it. You know, like if I
hmm
didn't know any better because it just like it still carries that same kind of like feeling over into Doctor Sleep. And so
I think
you
it's
wouldn't
insane that they redid some of the like quote unquote scenes from The Shining to use in
Mhm.
Doctor Sleep too, especially with
Yeah.
like the new actors in that film.
Yeah.
Like seeing the parallels, insane.
Yeah. That's a reason why I really like the Insidious movies because of
Yeah.
all like how all the connections add up like between all
hmm
the films. It's always crazy to like watch them back and be like, holy shit, like that's a scene from the first film like while you're on
I'm
the
just a
fourth
sucker
one.
for Easter eggs.
Yeah, me
I love
too.
them so
Anything
much.
that connects shit together is like a bonus for me. I love it.
I agree.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay.
What you
So
got for number two?
yeah, getting towards the end of the list here. So number 2 for me is where I put a bunch of movies, but really it's just a whole franchise. Do you want to take a guess?
Yeah, it's Saw.
Dude, John
uh,
fucking Kramer, dude.
John fucking Kramer.
Yeah, the whole
Fucking love him.
franchise. I like this.
1 through
So
10.
the crazy thing to me is I should not like those movies after a while. They're like when you're starting to get towards 6, 7, 8 movies, there's no reason that I should still be enjoying them. I love them. They're so good. And even if it's just like a, so I think they fell off for a while, and then they started doing these like kind of spin-offs, or like you know, these like, or so like
like Jigsaw and Spiral.
Yes. And so like so we watched, me and Cap here have a
It's
special
actually the first time I
bond.
met Veda.
Yes, we have a special bond over Saw, because the first time that we ever met in person, she came over to watch the Saw movies.
Like we did 1 through 3 the first time.
And now anytime that me, you, and Lexi are together, there's a point where we're all going
Oh, you always say game over.
Yeah, game over.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing, is like, I mean, when the movie came, so I saw the movies as they came out. I've seen every Saw movie in theaters.
Ooh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, so I've seen the first one. I should absolutely not have been there because I was way too young, but my uncle thought it would be fine. And then because I had seen the first one, my parents were like, all right, screw it, we'll just take you to see the rest of them. So even though I was like a kid when they were coming out, I just thought it was like really crazy and like scary but cool. And like I never really got scared of movies. So I loved them. And like it's funny because we used to watch them after they would come out. We would watch them again, like as a family in the basement of my childhood home. And like my mom would be like, cover your eyes, guys, cover your eyes. Me and Connor would sit there and we'd be like, oh my god, it's so cool. Like we were obsessed with gory movies. So like Saw kickstarted a horror like love for me. Like I was already in love with horror movies, but like we were looking for the goriest shit we could find. Like we got into like Saw, into Hostel, found like these obscuro gory movies that we could watch. Like we just thought that the gore was so cool because it was just like this, like these unrealistic ways of like ripping organs out of people, or like chopping someone's head off, or like it was just insane.
Them do it, you know?
Yes, yeah. Like and that was the thing that was crazy, was the concept of you will pay for what you've done by trading a piece of yourself, literally. Wild. Absolutely wild. And like the convoluted plot lines, or like the way that John Kramer just fucking thought of everything and like had these like so like in that first film, when that dude stood up, I was a kid and I was going, what the fuck? Like I was dude.
Whenever we were sitting there, my hands were over my mouth. I was like, no fucking way.
The whole time? But yeah, I like, they're so fucking solid, dude. I can't complain about any of the movies. Over the first one. Yeah, the first one over and over. The first one is literal perfection in terms of like a horror movie. It's so good. And like Tobin Bell never misses. Never. Like even when they don't write him a good script in those movies, he fucking sells the shit out of it. It's so it's so impressive to me. So like Saw will always be my favorite horror movie franchise, like forever and always. Yeah. I know that they fall off after a little bit, like they don't get like super original anymore or anything, but they bring it back with Jigsaw, they bring it back with Spiral, they bring it back with Saw X, which we just went to see in movies like last year. Good. And yeah, that
I haven't seen the first 10 minutes, but
okay. Saw X, the way that they brought that shit back, and it was like watching the first one over again. It really was. I agree. I have not felt that good about seeing a Saw movie since the first one. And so it was just an amazing job. And I hope that that's where they end it, but I don't think
they better like just leave it,
because please. I know they said the next one they want to talk about more about Amanda's involvement, and I hope if that's what
name it the pig. Then.
Yeah, I hope if that's what they're Saw. Yeah, I'm okay if you do Book of Saw the pig. Like that sounds lit as fuck to me.
I would literally call you so fast. I have tickets. We're going.
Literally, literally. So yeah, I mean, I would love that, but like, just please, just don't make it another Tobin Bell film. He needs to be done. That was a great finale for him.
It was. And it brought everything full circle.
Yeah.
Like, everything. From the
It
beginning to
answered
end.
every question I've ever wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I agree.
crazy.
Me too. Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. It's just such a good series.
Yep.
10 out of
So
10 would recommend.
yeah, that's definitely, it's my number 2 for a reason. I had a hard time deciding whether or not I was gonna put this one as number 1
Nah.
because it's so triumphant in terms of like shit that I will gush about. But
Mhm.
when we get to my number 1, I promise y'all it makes sense.
Number 1 makes so much sense for sure. Does my number 1 make sense?
100%, yes, of
There we go.
course.
So my number 2 is Treasure Planet.
Excellent.
Um, Mostly because of everything Veda already stated previously, but number 2 being placed there, number 1 has to be this other movie that we're gonna get to, but it had to be placed number 2 just because it's one of those movies that I never can get tired of.
Yeah.
I can just put it on loop. I could jump to certain scenes if I need them. I think Silver's monologue with Jim Hawkins on the ship where he says you have the makings of greatness in
Oh
you
God,
and I
I
want to
got
see you
chills with you
succeed.
saying.
I want to see you succeed and I just want to catch a glimpse or a glimmer of the starlight or sunlight coming off of you. It's just
Oh yeah, I have
I get
goosebumps.
chills. It's so good. He
Yeah.
does such a great job. It just means so much to me. And Iris, the Goo Goo Dolls, fire.
Yeah.
But what's even more interesting to me, I looked up why this movie, like, no one knows about it. Because,
Mhm.
yes, this, like, some
Wasn't
of
it
the
not
toys
even
that come
marketed?
in. So it was,
Mhm.
but they didn't know where to market it for. So the toys couldn't be directed towards children because the like idea of the film and the characters in it seemed a bit too dark or gruesome. The
Oh.
characters were too like mean looking for kids to be like, I want to play with these
Oh.
pirate toys because they're a bunch of like mismatched people thrown together. Especially like the fart guy who like runs the ship's
Yeah.
gravity. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah. True.
So it was number 1 Disney's biggest flop of a film. Back when
That's
it was
crazy.
released, they couldn't figure out what to dictate it towards, whether that be for children or young adults. They couldn't really find that spot to where the movie, when it was being promoted, could gain any traction. So no one was like, well, it looks Disney, right? Like, I don't really know if we should go see it. Should I bring my kids to that? I don't know. So even though the animation itself, the plot and the character development in general and the amazing score behind it was so good, it flopped so hard it did not make enough money to meet the production costs, or I don't think it really did any good numbers in the box at all, and it went down as Disney's biggest flop of a film.
That's insane to me.
It's insane. I can't even sit here and fathom how that happened. There's just
Yeah.
no way.
Well, so do you know the story behind how this was like all made?
Do you?
Okay, yes, I do.
Oh.
So, I this is one of my like all-time favorite Disney films. Like,
It
well, I
is
mean, it
mine
is
too.
my all-time favorite Disney film, but like, it's also one of my like all-time favorite stories. So, like, the basics of it is Ron Clements and John Musker, who did like directional work on like Little Mermaid, Hercules, like
Yes.
some pretty major projects. They wanted this movie to work, which later became Treasure Planet, but they pitched it and Little Mermaid at the same time, and the studio was like, no, this other one is way too crazy. But when Little Mermaid did like crazy good at the box office, the
Mhm.
studio was like, okay, maybe that other project could work, right?
Yeah.
And these two are basically like referred to as like the epitome of the Disney Renaissance, because they put out Aladdin and the studio was like, what the fuck are you guys? This is crazy, because it's
Mhm.
like a fucking, what do they call that phrase? Like the golden egg laying chicken or whatever, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It like
yeah.
starts it.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
basically, they produced Hercules really fast, and despite the fact that it didn't do as well, they fulfilled their original agreement, and
Mm.
so they were granted the rights to do Treasure Planet. So basically, they, like, the two biggest directors that Disney had ever had eventually got their way by essentially taking their wages from the highest grossing Disney films of all time and throwing them into Treasure Planet. And it was actually based on this, like, mini series, this like Italian mini series where they would later, like, kind of reimagined it as Treasure Island because they wanted it to be like,
I did hear that.
Yeah, they wanted it to be like Treasure Island meets like a space voyage, and Disney was like, no fucking way. That sounds way too nuts. That's never gonna work. And so the reason that it was a big flop was because it was made by Disney Studios, but it was never intended to be.
Yeah.
So it was
I can see that too.
Like they had such a passion for this movie, which is why I think it's as good as it is.
I agree. 100%.
That they took the money from Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules, and like a couple of other things that they helped out on. All of the money that they made off of that, they said, "Great, we're making Treasure Planet."
Yeah.
And I love that story.
Off in box office.
Yeah,
it makes me so sad.
It makes me sad too, but it also makes sense to me as to why, because like you have all of these strict guidelines to follow when you work for Disney, but then you two go off and do your own thing, and so of course it's not going to be like promoted as a full-blown Disney movie, you know? Like they trust you, sure, but everything else was like hard approval versus this one was like, we're making this on our own, are you going to back us or not? Like, yeah. So it doesn't make sense. I love this movie more than anything. I think it's wild. The way that I found it was when I was a kid, we had Disney Movie Club where they would send you a DVD and they sent us Treasure Planet. It became my favorite. I never looked back.
One and done.
Yep. One and done.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. So before we do number ones, honorable mentions. Yeah. I only have 3.
I have quite a bit.
Do you want to go through yours first?
Sure.
Okay.
So I know some of them are similar to what you have honorable mentions as well, so I'll skip those. But I have the Conjuring series as an honorable mention just 100%. Because I love that series. I love it a lot. I think it's so good. I love the real life aspect of the horror behind it. I think it's done really well, and I forget the characters' names. I love the 2 main characters, the like
Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yes, fire. Yeah. I love the actors and actresses.
Those 2, I was convinced that they were going to get married in real life because of how well they did.
I thought they were married. I thought they were. And I'm kind of upset they're not.
Honestly, me too.
Like, I will stay butthurt over that.
Yeah.
And I will live through them being Ed and Lorraine Warren in the movies.
100%.
I have Hamilton stage production because we watched that recently as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
I have Brother Bear. I think that one's a great Disney film as well. I also have the Saw series in here as an honorable mention because I just love them, that I can also love the movies through you as well because that's how we like first met and everything. And they're just so good. I cannot. Guardians of the Galaxy, I think is the best series in Marvel of the 3 films.
Okay, I will say the second one's a little questionable, but I really love 1 and 3.
I agree. I think the second one went a little bit too funny.
I feel like the first half of it's really great.
Yeah.
And then the last 20 minutes.
With it.
Yeah.
They went too funny. If
it's kind of like
more serious,
it's like great. They tried to do what they did with Thor Ragnarok, but Thor Ragnarok went really, really well, and Guardians was just kind of like, oh.
I hate that they tried to steal something from the Thor series because the Thor series, I don't like Thor series at all. No.
Dude, Thor Ragnarok is like one of my favorite.
Thor Ragnarok
Marvel
will go
movies.
down in history as the best Thor movie. All the rest can be scrapped.
Okay. I hate Dark World, so I'm with you there a little bit.
I hate Dark World so much.
But I think Dark World is... I hate that actress. I can't remember her name. Natalie Portman? Yes.
She's garbage in that film. She's garbage.
I cannot...
Here's my number 1 scene why it irks the fuck out of me. When they're on the skiff with Loki.
Yes.
And she gets up, peeks over the fucking skiff and goes, Malekith.
Yep.
Garbage.
Dude, I can't. I can't stand her in that film. I hate that I will not even watch Love and Thunder or whatever it is.
I
will not.
Garbage.
Okay, I can't watch it. I hate her. I can't watch it.
It's terrible.
And also,
it's such a garbage film.
This is funny. Jose just said this in chat, and I was just about to say it. Taika Waititi, who did Thor Ragnarok, genius. Fucking directional genius.
He could take that movie and put it on a pedestal because it's the only one I will ever
Literally.
watch.
He can like sleep well at night knowing that he made the most successful Thor movie. Like he's that man. Yeah. Took a DNA test. It turns out he's 100% Himalayan.
Yes, he is.
Correct.
That's why he could do awesome with that. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 3, fire. Second one, it has to be lumped in there because it's Guardians of the Galaxy. So,
yeah, sure.
Spy Kids is another honorable mention. 1 through 3.
Great kids movie. Love that.
Fire.
Like, great movie from
one recently. Fire.
It's actually
Age of Adeline. Fire.
Oh my god, yeah. The first Spy Kids is a lot more like witty. Watching it when you're not a kid.
It's so good.
It's so witty. I love it.
How did they put this in
also there? Age of Adeline, it's what sparked my love for A24 films.
It's one of my favorite romance films.
Yeah, it's an incredible film.
So much. It's so good. And then my last honorable mention is Ready Player One. Banger. I think they do a fantastic job of incorporating video games, movies, Easter eggs all over the place, and the storyline. 100%. Fire.
Though it did such a good job. The changes that it made from the book, because I read the book, the changes it made from the book, fucking bomb. I think they did it's one of the rare times that I will say, I think I like the movie as much as I like the book.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
I didn't read the book, but that's so sick to hear.
That is, I think that I like the movie just as much as the book. Like, I would watch again and I would read again, but I have no complaints of the differences between the two of them. So, it's incredible. Okay.
That was my last ones.
All right. So, my honorable mentions, the first one I know is one that we share, which is Kimi no Na wa, or Your Name.
Kimi no Na wa.
Honestly, I don't really feel like I have to explain a lot of this. If you guys haven't seen it, it is an animated film. It is beautiful. It's
stunning.
An incredible story, and you will cry.
1000%.
Yeah, it's if you are prone to crying to films, this one will be like, make sure you have tissues, because it's just, there's one scene, it gets me every fucking time she opens her hand, I lose it.
I lose it when the pen drops.
Yep, yeah, that too. That gets me. I just like, it's crazy because I don't usually like time concepts, but I love this film so much.
It's just fantastic.
Like, you give me Interstellar, I'm gonna rip that part like all the time. I'm gonna rip that shit a new asshole. I hate Interstellar. I think it's dumb. I hate the time paradox shit. Tenet is one that I love. However, I still think the time paradox shit is stupid. I really hate it. I don't like how much it makes me think. And also, I think that if you're going to make some sort of time paradoxal thing in a movie, you should just make it fucking make sense. Yeah. And so I usually don't like them, but Kimi no Na wa is a good one. They did it well. My next one is Sweet Home Alabama. And I know that this is unlike anything else on my list because it is a straight up like lovey-dovey movie, but it hits home. I'm from the South. Like, it's watching a girl like myself who got out of the South and moved to the city, go back home, reconnect with her roots, and like get her good old country boy. Like, that shit hits. And it's like
one of my mom's favorite films too. So I watch it all the time.
An incredible film. One that I would put right here with it, as far as like, I'm not usually a huge love movies person, but like Love Actually, I watch it every Christmas. And yeah, I don't even like Christmas, but I love that movie. Aww, and I watch it at Christmas time. But Sweet Home Alabama, it hits, and like, it's something about like the idea of a childhood like couple, you know, like they like the girl's in love with the boy in childhood, then they grow up and they're crazy, so they get married, and then, you know, they try to get divorced, but there's still feelings there and they have to address it, and it's like this enemies to lovers trope, and they've got history, like it's all, and it's like her coming to terms with the fact that who she is can never change. Even if she changes her name, she changes her location. Like, she might be Melanie Carmichael up in New York with her big, you know, hoity-toity
Fancy
fashion people, and
penthouse.
yeah, but nothing takes away the fact that Melanie Smooter still exists. I love the movie. It's such a good movie. It's and I cry every time when she's talking to Bear, the dog.
Yeah.
I cry every time.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. And then my final honorable mention is Pirates of the Caribbean, specifically Dead Man's Chest.
So I don't know the difference between the titles of it and the film itself. Which one is
the
that
second one?
But like, what happens?
Davy Jones.
Okay. I love the Fountain of Youth one. That one's my all-time favorite.
Fountain of Youth is that the one with is Bloom and Knightley still in that?
Yeah.
It's the third one then, I think.
Yeah. I just love it.
I love all the Pirates of the Caribbean
It's the one
movies.
with the mermaid. The mermaid's in it too.
Yeah, I think that's the third one.
That one's my all-time fave.
Because the first one is the blood treasure, where they
Stranger Tides.
Oh, that's the fourth one.
Huh.
Isn't it? On Stranger,
maybe
because it's
I again don't know the titles of them. So.
Yeah, I think it is. So Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl is, I think, the first one, right?
I think so.
And then Dead Man's Chest, and then God, there's 6 of them, so now I'm like unsure.
Yeah. I have no idea. So
At World's End is the third one, I think, and then On Stranger's Tide is At World's End, yes, on Stranger Tides is the 4th one, and then the 5th one is Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Yes.
The 4th one, though, the Fountain of Youth, if it's On Stranger's Tide, that one does not have Keira Knightley or Orlando Bloom. It's Angelica Cruz. Or Penelope Cruz is Angelica.
Oh shit, you're right. See, they all blend together.
Yeah, no, I completely get you. I know the first 3 really, really, really well, but the only thing that I remember whenever I talk about the 3rd one is the fucking crabs carrying.
Not the crabs.
I think about it all the time. But yeah, so the first one is where they discover like the truth of Jack and his crew, and like, you know, the blood treasure, and she like puts her blood on the thing and it doesn't work, but then Orlando Bloom does it because he's got the pirate blood and all that whatnot.
On the coin.
Yeah, and then Dead Man's Chest is the one where Jack Sparrow has to avoid his damnation, and the Orlando Bloom meets his dad. Will Turner's dad is on the ghost ship, like Davy Jones' ship, and I don't think it's actually Davy Jones. I've always called it Davy Jones' ship, but I think it's the Flying Dutchman is what it is, I think.
Yeah. I got what you're talking about.
Yeah, because the 3rd one is about the Pieces of 8. And they're like saving they're saving Jack from Davy Jones's locker, and then they have to confront Sao Fang, the like the Chinese pirates, and there's like that whole thing about like the pirate life. And dude, they're such great films. Like those first 3 films, it's another thing where like that original trilogy, I don't have any complaints about any of them. I love pirates, but I have, much like yourself, not so like displayed, but I have an incredible deep like fascination and love for pirates and pirate life and like anything pirate related. So like Dead Man's Chest to me is just like the most piratey of pirate films from my childhood. So it gets that honorable mention.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Okay, number one.
Would you like to go first?
Sure. So my number 1 film, if anybody knows me, they probably know this. We actually watched it recently in my Discord server. It's The Martian. have so much to say about this, but I will make it so short. I love Matt Damon. I love movies where we have to rescue Matt Damon by spending a shit ton of money and resources.
Ton of money. Yep, for sure.
I think the acting is superb. It follows the book because I read the book.
Of course.
It follows the book almost perfectly. I like the movie more than I like the book.
Huh.
I loved the book.
Interesting.
I read it before the movie even came out. Like before I knew the movie was a thing. I read the book, and Andy Weir did an incredible job writing that. It was funny, it was witty, it was scary, it was realistic, it was fascinating, and it was like exhilarating to watch him like triumph over all of this shit. So I loved the book. And then all of a sudden the movie came out, and I was so nervous because it was my favorite book, aside from Metro 2033. It was my favorite book, and I went to go see the movie, and I walked out of it, and I said, "Holy fuck, I like this more than the book." And it has never happened to me before, and it has not happened since. It's the only time it's ever happened. I will watch this movie any fucking time, as many times as somebody wants. If we watch it and somebody's like, I missed half of it, I'm like, great, restarting it.
We're rewinding right now.
Literally, I just think, I mean, one, Matt Damon does an incredible job playing Mark Watney. Two, it's so realistic, but also so unfathomable that it just boggles my mind every second of the movie. I just like, and then I love the concepts in it, like the concept of colonizing Mars, like the concept of planting potatoes in your own shit so that you can grow something.
And like the water
on
spout
planet.
Thing with the oxygen and like
the science that's
up.
in it.
Holy shit.
If you're a science nerd, like it's one of the most realistic space movies out there because everything was consulted by NASA. So I mean, like,
it's so
they made sure that everything was, you know, as much as it could be given the scenario, realistic. I love how he says, like, I'm gonna have to science the shit out of this. And then for the rest of the movie, he sciences the shit out of everything.
Doesn't that start like the montage of him going through the days?
Yes.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And
I just like
himself.
It's crazy because like a lot of the time making a movie about somebody stranded somewhere, it is not as funny or interesting or entertaining as this one was. And so I just, it's the top of my list. I think it always will be. I really can't think of a movie that would knock me out of the water like The Martian did. Bonus points, both a wifey and a hubby of mine are in it. Sebastian Stan and Jessica Chastain are part of the crew. And Jessica's a babe and Sebastian's a babe, and I love them.
And I love them.
But yeah, I just like, and I like the ending. I like the ending a lot because it's not just the fact that we get a happy ending, it's that we move past it and he's just like taken that experience and just moved on.
Yeah.
I love that. Like the concept of like, yeah, I'm just, now that we're in the future after I've survived this thing, I'm just doing life. Like it's such a perfect way to end it because that's exactly what would happen.
Like you just have to.
And like, you know, he's got this newfound appreciation for his life, sure, but everyone around him is not going to understand that, so he just trudges through his life. You know, no mystical like awards or ceremonies or anything. Just he's teaching. I love that. It's just such a perfect movie.
I actually, while we're sitting here thinking of like talking about the movies and whatnot, I have two more honorable mentions.
Okay.
One of which was a book that I think it was maybe book turned movie or maybe movie and then books came out afterwards. But another honorable mention is Spiderwick Chronicles. If you've ever seen it.
Book turn movie.
So, book turn movie? Amazing.
Yeah.
I think they did such a stellar job.
I haven't seen those in forever.
I have read all of the handbooks. I used to have the field journal. I loved all of it. I thought they made such an amazing effort to bring fantastical creatures to life. And I think it's such an older movie that it wows me how they made those characters look so cool. Like the fairies, the griffin, the
Mm-hmm.
trolls, and the ogre guy. Oh my god, I
Yeah.
can't. It's so good.
No,
And then
absolutely.
another honorable mention is Deepwater Horizon. It is
Oh,
one of my
yeah.
all-time favorite real life event turn movie.
Yeah.
I get like low key like quote panic attack feeling
Yeah.
when everyth's about to shit hit the fan. I
Mm-hmm.
think the acting in it is amazing. Mark Wahlberg is in it. He does fantastic in this film. I love
It's not
the
another
main guy.
Transformers. Don't worry.
True. True, not in there, but this one fire. I love and hate the main head chairman of BP in it. I forget who the actor is, but he does a fantastic job. And one of my favorite lines from the entire film is when he's complaining to the people who are running the rig because he's like, dude, can you just
Is it?
fucking run it?
It's not. Wait, Kurt Russell's in it. Is it Kurt Russell who plays that guy, or is it?
I'm
Or
not
is
sure. You'd
Kurt
probably have to
Russell?
fact check me on that, but I don't know actors' names as well as I should.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite line in the whole film is what he says. And he's yelling at him, being like, bro, can you just freaking run it? Like, who cares about the pipe? Fuck it, whatever. And he goes, y'all a bunch of nervous ass cats. And the way he says nervous and he drops I love it so much. It's amazing. And they just do such a great job of giving the sheer panic, mayhem, chaoticness
Yeah.
of what happens on that rig. And
Yeah.
they do a really good job of what happens afterwards too. And that made me think of it when you're explaining The Martian.
Yeah. I think
Mhm.
movies like that always get me to an extent. Like movies that are made. Have you seen Gran Turismo yet?
No.
Okay. I did not know that that was based off a true story. Also, we're watching that like ASAP.
Gotcha.
I did not know that that was based off of a real story. And now that I do, watching it, holy fucking shit.
Mhm.
The fact that it is based off a true story has actually made a movie that I thought was the best movie made in the last like 2 or 3 years into I now think it's one of the best made movies ever.
Oh, wow. Add that
Yes.
shit to the list.
100. We're watching that, and like above everything else I want to show you, I need to show you Gran Turismo.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I love movies that can do that, that can take a real life event and make it so like cinematic
Mhm.
that it gives you goosebumps because you can't believe that it actually happened.
Mhm. For sure. So my number one all time favorite movie, forever and ever and ever, is Speed Racer 2008.
Oh hell yeah.
And it will go down in history as something I can rewatch. I can quote it from the first opening line to the ending. I could give you what's going to happen next, what's going on, who the characters are, what's happening, like the ins and outs of it. And I love all of the cars in this movie. I just think the cars are sick. I love my favorite sound from the entire movie is the jump jacks when they have the cars jumping over certain things. I love the story. I think it is really shitty green screen. Don't get me wrong, but wow. I just
Mm.
can't get over it. It's just so good. I love Speed Racer. Um Pops is one of my favorite characters too. He's the dad in it. And I think they just do such a great job of like doing an on-screen movie family that
Mm-hmm.
you would have never guessed they're just actors. And maybe that comes from me of just being like a little kid watching this because I used to watch it from when it came out and I still watch it now. I watch it randomly throughout the year if I need to like a little pick me up or if someone's like, "Oh, I haven't seen it." I'm like, "You haven't seen it? Do you want to watch it like right now
Mm-hmm.
or maybe tomorrow? Like are you free?" And it's just my all-time favorite. I can't get over it. The cars are sick. The Mach 5 is one of my all-time favorite cars, but I know the Mach 6 runs in the Grand Prix and they're just beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful cars, beautiful story. Amazing.
Yeah.
I just
Oh,
cannot.
this has been such a fun conversation to have. I love
I love
talking
geeking out about
about
movies.
me too, and I
I
love
love it so much.
see like hearing the reasons for other people's favorite movies because it just like reminds me that like cinema and really anything that's like created from passion and art and any form of expression,
Yeah.
it's just so personal both ways. Like the people who make it, it's personal for them, but the people who view it, it's also personal for them. And I love hearing that about people. So it's just been very, very fun.
Yeah, I love it a lot.
We'll have to do another top 10.
Oh, we should. Yeah, we really should.
I'll come up with that later.
Maybe we'll make it more specific next time.
Yeah, maybe.
Kind of like our next week's episode.
Yeah, which is very specific. I actually had a question for you. Are you afraid of the dark at all?
Maybe, but I was just wondering, are you afraid of the deep ocean by chance?
You know what? I'll share that next week.
Gotcha. So keeps that a brewing and a stewing, and we'll go ahead and give you the good old outro. Remember, Coveys,
keep it real, but keep it curious. Bye-bye.